Arthur's story, a simple version. Wait until you hear what happened to this old war hero at his local bank. It's going to make you so mad, but then something amazing happens that will blow your mind. So there's this old guy named Arthur. He's 79 years old and he fought in wars a long time ago. He has trouble walking because he got hurt in the war. But here's the crazy part. His bank froze all his money and wouldn't let him buy his heart medicine. The bank manager was being really mean to him. Arthur was getting desperate because without his medicine, he could die. Then Arthur remembered something super secret from his war days. He told the bank manager a special code name that nobody was supposed to know about. You won't believe what happened next. The Treasury Secretary, that's like one of the most important people in the whole country, showed up at this tiny bank with a bunch of government cars and agents. She was so mad at the bank manager for treating a war hero badly. But wait, there's more to this story that will make you think differently about the old people you see every day. The small town called Millfield was really quiet that morning. It had rained a little bit earlier, so everything smelled fresh and clean. You could smell coffee from the coffee shop down the street. Inside the Unity Trust Bank, everything seemed normal. There were customers talking quietly, machines beeping, and papers rustling around. Then Arthur Collins walked in really slowly. Remember, he's 79 years old, and his body hurts from being in the war. His shoulders were bent over, he walked with a limp, and his hands looked old and rough from working hard his whole life. Every morning his knee hurt because he still had a piece of metal in it from getting blown up in the war. But his eyes still looked strong, like the tough soldier he used to be. He was holding an old leather wallet that had his war veteran card, and a piece of paper from the doctor for his heart medicine. Arthur lived alone, and kept things simple. He had retired from working almost 20 years ago. His small apartment was full of memories, old pictures of him in his army uniform, medals he won for being brave, including a Purple Heart and Bronze Star that he kept locked in a drawer, and a small American flag on a shelf. He didn't like talking about these things much. His pension money wasn't extra spending money. It was the only way he could afford the medicine that kept his heart working right. Today, Arthur needed to take out some money to buy his heart medicine. Without it, his heart might stop working, and he could get really sick or even die. He felt his chest getting tight because he was worried not just about his heart, but because he felt helpless being old. At the counter was Mr. Grayson, the bank manager. He was in his late 30s and wore a fancy suit. He looked at Arthur like he was annoyed and didn't trust him. He looked at Arthur's old clothes and tired face. "Mr. Collins," Grayson said in a cold voice, "your account has been frozen because we're investigating it. Our security system found some problems." Arthur looked confused and felt his chest get even tighter. "I just need money for my medicine," he said so quietly you could barely hear him. Grayson pressed his lips together tightly. "Bank rules, no exceptions." Those words hit Arthur like cold water being thrown on him. Other customers in the bank started looking over and whispering. Some looked away because they felt embarrassed for him. Arthur felt humiliated. All those years of fighting for his country seemed to disappear under suspicion and stupid rules. But deep inside, the old soldier part of him, the leader, the protector, woke up. He wasn't going to let them dismiss him that easily. He reached into his old leather wallet with shaky fingers, looking for something he hadn't used in many, many years. This was his last desperate chance. Arthur took a slow, deep breath. He felt the pressure of the moment pushing down on him. The bank felt colder now, and the bright lights overhead felt almost mean. His hands shook a little as he reached into his beat-up wallet, touching his veteran ID card, a small plastic card that was worn smooth from being handled so much over the years. He pulled it out carefully and put it on the counter, sliding it toward Mr. Grayson. "I'm Sergeant Major Arthur Collins," he said in a low but strong voice, sounding like a man who had led other soldiers through much scarier situations than this. "I served in the military for over 30 years. I won awards for being brave and serving my country. There's a special Treasury rule for veterans like me, especially those who won certain honors. You need to call the Special Veterans Financial Helper and mention Operation Silent Guardian." Grayson's eyes flickered with disbelief and his lips curled into a mean smile. "That sounds like a made-up story," he said in a voice full of disrespect. "We follow strict banking rules here. Your account is frozen for 7 to 10 business days. That's final." Arthur felt desperate. His medicine would run out in 3 days. Without it, his heart might stop beating right and something terrible could happen. He leaned forward a little, trying to show how urgent this was without losing his cool. "Please," he begged. "This medicine keeps me alive. You can check who I am with Veterans Affairs. I'm not asking for special treatment, just what's right." Grayson shook his head and reached for the phone. "I'll play along," he muttered, "but don't expect miracles." Arthur watched as Grayson dialed the phone and mumbled the codename Operation Silent Guardian under his breath. The whole room seemed to hold its breath with him. The voice on the other end was sharp and urgent. "Branch address, Unity Trust Bank, Millfield. Veteran's full name and rank. Sergeant Major Arthur Collins. Do not let him leave. Priority team en route. Treasury actual level 1 alert." Grayson's mean smile disappeared instantly. His fingers shook as he hung up the phone. The air in the bank changed. You could feel tension everywhere. Arthur straightened his back, feeling hope start to grow inside him. Around them, the other customers whispered to each other, sensing that something unusual was happening. A young mom held her child tighter. An old man watched with narrow eyes. The bank workers looked at each other nervously. Arthur's mind went back to his years in the military, the missions that tested his courage, the friends he had saved, the sacrifices made in silence. He had never asked for recognition, but now in this cold bank lobby, he realized that his past might be the key to getting his dignity back. He looked at Grayson steadily. "I'm ready to wait," Arthur said quietly, "but I will not be dismissed." Grayson swallowed hard. The arrogance drained from his face. The power had shifted, and the bank manager knew it. Minutes later, the distant sound of engines echoed outside, signaling that the next part of this unexpected journey was about to begin. Minutes later, the distant sound of engines grew into a roar. Two sleek black cars with government license plates screeched to a stop right in front of the bank's glass doors. The doors swung open, and the first person to step out made Grayson's blood run cold. Leading the team of suited agents was a woman whose every step showed power. Linda Marshall, the United States Secretary of the Treasury. Her sharp eyes looked around the room, taking in every detail like she was figuring out how serious what had happened was. Arthur's heart beat faster. The years seemed to fall away, replaced by the weight of history and honor. Secretary Marshall stopped in front of him, not with the distance of an official, but with a warm yet serious smile. She held out her hand. "Sergeant Major Collins," she said, her voice steady and sincere, carrying a weight of respect that Arthur hadn't felt in years. "Your service has not been forgotten." Arthur grabbed her hand. A rush of relief and pride flooded him. His eyes met hers, and for the first time that day, he felt truly seen. Mr. Grayson, the bank manager, turned pale. He took a step back as Secretary Marshall turned her gaze toward him. "You," she said sharply, her voice cutting through the silence. Like a knife, froze the pension of a national hero. "Explain yourself," Grayson stammered. "I was just following protocol." The system flagged an irregularity. "That irregularity was a Treasury safeguard," Secretary Marshall interrupted, her tone icy. "This isn't just any account. It belongs to a man who saved lives, including my father's. During Operation Silent Guardian." A hush fell over the room. Arthur's cheeks flushed, a mixture of embarrassment and vindication. Secretary Marshall turned back to Arthur. "We will restore your account immediately, with full compensation. Furthermore, I am ordering a comprehensive review of this branch's protocols. No one under my watch will suffer such an indignity again." She signaled, and her team moved swiftly. Moments later, a notification popped up on the teller's screen, confirming the restoration and a significant compensation deposit. Grayson was quietly escorted to a private office by two agents. The Treasury officials prepared to leave. A local reporter cautiously approached Arthur. "Sergeant Major Collins, would you share your story?" Arthur hesitated, then nodded. "I served because it was my duty, but today I'm grateful to be seen." His quiet life was forever changed. But as the initial excitement faded, and he returned to his empty apartment, a new and unsettling question arose. What happens when a man who has lived in silence for so long is suddenly thrust into the national spotlight? Despite the swift intervention by Secretary Marshall, the ripples of the incident spread far beyond the quiet walls of Unity Trust Bank within hours. News of the pension freeze and the dramatic arrival of the Treasury Secretary had reached the corporate headquarters. The bank's reputation, once solid and trusted, now teetered on the edge of scandal. Executives scrambled to contain the fallout, convening emergency meetings to dissect what had gone wrong and how to prevent such a breach of trust. Again, Arthur returned home that afternoon feeling a strange mixture of relief and exhaustion. The ordeal had drained him more than he expected. His modest apartment, usually a place of comfort, now seemed too quiet, the shadows longer than before. He sat by the window, gazing out at the fading light, memories of past battles mingling with the fresh sting of mistrust and humiliation. The worn photographs on the walls of comrades long gone in distant battlefields seemed to watch over him silently, reminding him of a different kind of fight. His phone buzzed repeatedly, a message from the Treasury liaison assigned to him, assuring that his account was fully restored and that compensation had been deposited. They also promised ongoing support to prevent any future issues. Arthur smiled, faintly, grateful but wary. The wounds of bureaucracy ran deep, and trust was not easily rebuilt. Meanwhile, at the bank's corporate offices, the investigation into Mr. Grayson's conduct was underway. The branch manager was suspended pending the outcome, and the bank's PR team drafted a public apology, emphasizing their commitment to veterans and promising retraining for all staff. Yet the damage was done. Local media covered the story extensively, and social media buzzed with debates about respect for aging veterans. Hashtags calling for better treatment of veterans trended nationwide, and advocacy groups seized the moment to push for reform. Back in Millfield, the community's reaction was mixed but mostly supportive of Arthur. Some neighbors reached out with words of encouragement. Others expressed shame for not speaking up sooner. The local Veterans Association organized a small gathering in his honor, celebrating his service and resilience. Arthur attended reluctantly, but found unexpected comfort in the company of fellow veterans. Their shared stories, laughter, and tears reminded him that he was not alone in facing battles beyond the battlefield. As the days passed, Arthur's health stabilized with uninterrupted access to his medication, yet the emotional toll lingered. He reflected on the invisible battles veterans fought long after the war ended, against neglect, misunderstanding, and invisibility. The incident had reopened old wounds, but also sparked a new resolve within him. One afternoon, a letter arrived from Secretary Marshall herself. She expressed personal apologies and gratitude, assuring Arthur that his case had sparked a nationwide review of veteran services within financial institutions. She pledged to oversee reforms ensuring that no veteran would suffer similar indignities. Again, Arthur folded the letter carefully, feeling a rare warmth. The recognition was more than symbolic. It was a promise of change. It rekindled his faith in the system he had once served, reminding him that while battles may be fought in silence, they are never forgotten. The bank's new policies were soon implemented. Staff underwent sensitivity training, and a dedicated veteran liaison was appointed at every branch. Arthur's case became a case study, taught in training sessions to prevent future mistakes. The bank also launched a campaign to honor veterans, partnering with local organizations to support those who had served. Grayson, meanwhile, faced disciplinary hearings. His career, once promising, was effectively over. The humiliation he had inflicted on Arthur was mirrored back upon him, a stark reminder of the consequences of arrogance and negligence. Despite the turmoil, Arthur found a renewed sense of purpose. He began volunteering at the local Veterans Center, sharing his story and advocating for others. His quiet dignity had been restored, but more importantly, his voice was heard. The incident sparked wider conversations about honoring aging warriors and the systems meant to protect them. Arthur's story was a powerful reminder that true heroism often walks quietly among us, deserving of recognition and respect. Just as he began to find peace in his new role, his greatest test was yet to come. An official invitation had arrived from the Treasury Department, a public ceremony in his honor, an event that would force him to confront the very past he had spent a lifetime keeping hidden. In the weeks following the dramatic events at Unity Trust Bank, Arthur's life slowly adjusted to a new normal. Though the echoes of the ordeal continued to resonate within him, the community's attention had shifted toward preparations for a public ceremony honoring his service and resilience, a recognition long overdue and deeply meaningful. The Treasury Department, local government officials, veterans organizations, and community leaders collaborated closely to ensure the event would be dignified, heartfelt, and reflective of Arthur's true legacy. Arthur found himself spending more time in reflection than usual. His health, once precarious, had stabilized thanks to uninterrupted access to his heart medication. Yet the emotional scars from the bank incident lingered, surfacing unexpectedly in quiet moments. He often sat by the window of his modest apartment, gazing out at the changing seasons, memories of his military years mingling with the fresh sting of betrayal and eventual vindication. The faded photographs on his walls, of comrades long gone, distant battlefields, and moments of camaraderie seemed to watch over him silently, reminding him of battles fought and sacrifices made in silence. The ceremony was scheduled for a crisp autumn morning in Millfield's town square, a place where generations had gathered for celebrations, protests, and moments of remembrance. Flags fluttered gently in the breeze, their colors vivid against the pale blue sky. A crowd began to assemble: early family members, friends, fellow veterans, local officials, and curious townspeople eager to witness the event. The atmosphere was solemn yet celebratory, a collective acknowledgement of a life dedicated to service and the restoration of dignity. Secretary Linda Marshall arrived with her entourage, her presence commanding respect and admiration. She was greeted warmly by local leaders and veterans representatives. Her sharp eyes scanned the crowd, then settled on Arthur with a look of genuine respect and gratitude. As she stepped up to the podium, her voice carried clearly across the square. "We gathered today not only to honor Sergeant Major Arthur Collins, but to reaffirm our commitment to all who have served our nation," she began. His story is a powerful reminder that the sacrifices of our veterans extend far beyond the battlefield. They deserve our respect, our gratitude, and our unwavering support. Her words resonated deeply with the audience, many of whom nodded or wiped away tears. The secretary spoke passionately about the duty of the nation to protect those who had protected it, emphasizing the recent reforms enacted to prevent injustices like the one Arthur had endured. When Arthur was called forward, he walked slowly, but with quiet pride. The medals pinned to his chest gleamed in the sunlight, symbols of courage, of sacrifice, and a lifetime of service. He addressed the crowd with a voice steady and sincere, carrying the weight of experience and humility. "We all did our best," he said. "Sometimes the hardest battles are fought at home, in silence. But today I stand here not just for myself, but for all those who served and continued to serve, for those who have been forgotten, overlooked, or dismissed." The crowd erupted into applause, some with tears glistening in their eyes. Among the attendees were veterans who approached Arthur afterward, sharing their own stories of struggle and resilience. Their gratitude and camaraderie offered him unexpected comfort and renewed purpose. After the ceremony, a young boy approached Arthur hesitantly, eyes wide with admiration and curiosity. "Are you a real hero?" the boy asked, voice filled with innocent wonder. Arthur smiled gently, placing a reassuring hand on the boy's shoulder. "We're all heroes in our own way. Just keep trying your best." The bank's new manager, a veteran himself, pledged publicly to uphold the respect and care Arthur deserved. The branch had undergone significant changes, with new protocols, sensitivity training, and dedicated veteran liaisons to ensure no veteran would face similar indignities again. In the days following the ceremony, Arthur began receiving letters, phone calls, and invitations from veterans and citizens inspired by his story. He accepted an invitation to volunteer at the local Veterans Center, where he found a renewed sense of purpose in sharing his experiences and advocating for improved support systems. The ceremony was not an end but a new beginning, a reaffirmation that true heroism often walks quietly among us, deserving of recognition, respect, and justice. As autumn deepened, Arthur's life was enriched by new friendships and a strengthened community. The incident that had once threatened to diminish him had instead illuminated his legacy, inspiring others to honor the sacrifices of all veterans. The ceremony was not an end but a new beginning. But as the crowd dispersed and Arthur was left with his quiet thoughts, he learned that one final piece of the story was about to unfold. Mr. Grayson had requested to speak with him. One last time, Arthur's life gradually returned to its peaceful routine, but with a newfound sense of dignity and belonging. The ordeal at Unity Trust Bank had sparked a wave of awareness and change that extended far beyond Millfield. The plaque installed at the bank's entrance became a daily symbol of respect and vigilance, a reminder to all who entered that the sacrifices of veterans must never be forgotten or dismissed. The bank's policies improved significantly. Dedicated veteran liaisons were appointed at every branch, and mandatory sensitivity training was implemented for all employees. These changes ensured that no veteran would face the kind of indignity Arthur had endured. His case became a cornerstone example in training sessions nationwide, a testament to the power of standing up for justice. Arthur's story inspired many. Local schools invited him to speak about service, sacrifice, and resilience, helping younger generations understand the true cost of freedom. Veterans organizations reached out, seeking his guidance and support and advocating for better treatment and recognition. One crisp afternoon, Arthur sat quietly on a park bench, watching children play under the golden light of late afternoon. The young boy from the ceremony approached him once again, his face bright with curiosity and admiration. "Thank you," the boy said simply. Arthur smiled, feeling the weight of decades and the lightness of gratitude mingling within him. "We all did our best, son," he replied gently. That simple exchange captured the essence of Arthur's journey, a life marked by courage, sacrifice, and ultimately, recognition. The legacy he left was not just in medals or ceremonies, but in the hearts of those who learned to see the quiet heroes among them. Though the battles of the past had shaped him, it was the respect and dignity restored in the present that truly defined Arthur's final chapter. His story became a beacon, reminding all who heard it that true heroism often walks quietly among us, deserving of honor, compassion, and unwavering respect. That night, Arthur sat quietly in his room. He looked at a faded photograph on the wall, a group of young men in military uniforms, their faces filled with hope and uncertainty. He had finally found peace, but his story left the world not simply as a triumph of justice over bureaucracy, but as a powerful affirmation of human dignity and the power of compassion. It showed that true heroism lies not only in past deeds, but in the quiet resilience in the face of humiliation and the nobility of choosing forgiveness over revenge. Arthur's greatest strength was not his secret code name, but his refusal to let the indifference of the system erode his dignity. The story challenges us to reconsider how society treats those who have sacrificed: the elderly, the veterans, the vulnerable. This is not just a story about one man, but a call to pay attention to the silent guardians who live all around us. Ultimately, the message is a haunting question. Are we aware enough to recognize and honor them before it is too late?